Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well and are having a flare-free day. In today's video, I thought that we could talk about 15 different ways to support those in our lives that live with chronic pain or have a chronic illness that really impacts their day-to-day life. Generally speaking, I think there are 15 ways that those in our lives can support us better. And if you're watching this and you don't have chronic pain, but there's someone in your life that you just care for and love so deeply that you want to support them, I think this is a great starting point to just get the ball rolling, especially when they're first diagnosed with a chronic illness, because that can be a really triggering and tiring time to kind of figure out on their own. The first way that you can support somebody in your life with chronic fatigue or chronic pain is to educate yourself on their illness or disease that they have. When I was first diagnosed with endometriosis, I, one, didn't know what it was, and two, had never heard about it growing up. And so I dove fully into researching what endometriosis is, what are the symptoms, how does it present, and so much more information. I was putting so much time and effort into researching how my body was impacted by this thing. And it made it difficult when I realized that my support network doesn't know probably what it is either. I was like, there's gonna be so much time, not wasted, but it's gonna be difficult to explain what I'm going through, what it is, because I just felt like it took a lot of time for me to fully understand. The way that you can support somebody in your life with chronic pain or chronic illness is to educate yourself on it. Do the research on your own time, because again, living with chronic fatigue and chronic pain, we just don't have the energy sometimes to kind of fully sit down and delve into it. It can also sometimes be triggering to talk about it out loud. Just coming to the table to your friend or family member or that loved one and saying, I've researched on this, I'm with you 100%, we can learn more together. Part of that education too is that it shows that you care enough to immerse yourself into the journey alongside that person you support. As chronic illness sufferers, I don't want to drag my friends and family down with me to say, this is what it is. Isn't it so sucky? It's just awful, right? It's not about that. It's more about being immersed in the journey with that support system that understands, at least at the surface level, what you're going through definition wise. And so I think that can help make you feel more supported, not alone. And those are main things that I would say at the beginning of a chronic illness journey that we're searching for, is that community, is that understanding of what we're going through, basically. The next thing I'll say is to listen actively. Listening actively and giving an ear to that person with chronic pain can be really just all we're looking for. When I was again first diagnosed, I felt very alone and very isolated, and I just felt like, one, I didn't want to bring my friends and family down with what I was talking about because it is a heavy thing to carry. But two, sometimes you feel like you're always complaining because you're like, oh, I'm tired or I'm in pain or whatever. And it's not to say that you're not those things, but sometimes we're like, I don't want to come off as negative all the time. And so having a friend or family member that listens without judgment and expresses that empathy that we're kind of, grasping onto as well, and just having a listening ear can really help make the process of living with chronic pain less lonely. And again, I think that's going to be the thread alongside all of these support tools and techniques, is that we just in the chronic illness community want to feel understood and not alone, because it's a very isolating experience to feel like our body is working against us and we feel like we're losing a bit of our own control around what's happening with our bodies. And the last thing we want is to do all of that and to feel all that alone. Listening actively and just listening without judgment is also a great supportive way to be with that person in your life. Alongside listening intently is to offer empathy. What I mean is to acknowledge the pain and struggle that someone goes through with chronic pain and a flare-up that shows up out of the blue. It also comes alongside putting yourself into that person's shoes. So whoever is watching this right now, if you have a friend or a family member that has chronic pain and you're just like, how can I support them better? I think the best way to describe it is like putting yourself into their shoes and saying, could I go through that alone? Or could I experience that every other day or every week? The reality is, like, a nap won't fix our fatigue, and taking medication may not stop a flare-up from coming forward in the night. And so just putting yourself into that person's shoes and recognizing that it's not you and it's not the friend group and it's not the activity, it's just that our body is unpredictable at times. And having that empathy and that empathetic ear to really understand that and not put pressure on explaining the pain or explaining why we can't do things is something that is really needed for our support system. Okay, this is gonna be a bit of like, not a juxtaposition on other things I'll say, but respecting that person's independence sometimes. Those of us with chronic pain are stubborn sometimes, and we just like, especially I'm a Taurus, stubborn chronic pain warrior, okay? And sometimes I just want to do things on my own and show that I can do it, and show like, no, I'm feeling good today. I promise, like I'm not going above and beyond my capabilities. Like I really want to do that today to show to myself that I can do it and I'm capable of doing it. Having a routine of independence while living with chronic pain is a silver lining in the journey. Those days where we wake up and feel refreshed and energized and like, whoa, our body is like perfect today. Like I can do anything I want to do. Having that independence is so needed, and so it's like gold to us, and having that day where we can do the things we want to do. So yes, sometimes we would love your support, and I'm sure the person in your life is going to say, you know, can you help me with this today? Or I'd really appreciate you helping me make meals, or whatever it is. On the other spectrum, if they say, I feel great today, like I'm gonna do this, it's okay to step back and let them do that, because we're searching for that independence in that chronic pain journey. The next thing is accompanying that person to appointments, especially medical appointments. At the beginning of my journey, again, didn't know what endo was. I was kind of in a blank state of not absorbing information that was explained to me by a doctor. And so I was missing a lot of things. I wasn't writing things down. And this is something I've learned throughout my journey to like not do. But sometimes it can be very overwhelming and traumatic, especially if we've been medically gaslit throughout our chronic pain journey. And what I mean by this is that if they've gone to doctors and doctors and try to get names for their pain and they're just brushed aside for years, it can be a really traumatic experience to go back into a doctor's office once you have that name to your pain, to continue to be heard, to continue to be respected around your pain management choices and options. And so having a family member or friend that's there with them to accompany them to appointments that are sometimes traumatic and can open up a lot of wounds alongside the chronic illness journey is something that is an unspoken piece of gratitude that I think will mean so much to somebody in your life. You know, you can write down everything the doctor's saying. You can ask questions that may not come forward if that person is feeling a little shell-shocked by that experience, or that white coat syndrome of not feeling themselves in the doctor's office or feeling a little bit more anxious. You can, you know, talk to that person ahead of the medical appointment and say, what are the questions you want to ask, or what do you want answered? And you can kind of be their advocate and their voice in that system. And again, it's kind of a juxtaposition with that independence, right? We want to go to the doctor's office, we want to get answers for ourselves, but sometimes just having that person beside us while we talk is also a great way to just feel a little bit more empowered, supported, and seen in that medical system. Next thing I'll say, again, with permission from that person who lives with chronic pain or that chronic illness, is to help assist with medication management. Sometimes when you have chronic pain or chronic disease, you have certain medications that you have to take throughout the day to help manage the threshold of pain that they experience on a day-to-day basis. I would say with this, especially with you know, a doctor overseeing the medication around what medications to take, is to help that person in your life organize how that looks in the day or that week. The little medication weekly organizers are great. You know, they can just wake up and go to Monday, open it and take their medication. Or you can outline, you know, what times of day they need to take it by writing it down on a piece of paper and putting it on the fridge. These little things with medication management can help, because again, sometimes the days fly by, especially if we've missed a day by having a flare-up, or we kind of are having so much brain fog or fatigue that we don't know what day of the week it is, because it can sometimes get confusing. Again, in line with what a doctor has prescribed, you can just be that person that just provides the logistical support that's needed for that person taking the medication. Next way to support somebody is to help prepare healthy meals. If you don't live with that person, that's okay. You can still make meals that they can freeze. Again, having a flare-up and nights where you're just not able to do anything or move your body is real. My endometriosis flare-ups were at their worst. I was unable to move. And this is not like exaggeration. Like I was curled up in a ball, unable to move, feeling like barbed wire was wrapped around my stomach. I just wasn't feeling myself. And the last thing I wanted to do was cook a healthy meal for myself after that flare-up had gone away. I just would turn to quick and easy meals or just not eat at all, because didn't have the energy, or I just was not hungry because I had just gone through a crazy flare up. And I find that when I had a friend that cooked a meal for me that I could freeze and then just heat up in the microwave or on the stove, meant more to me than that person will probably ever know. Because although they weren't there physically with me to enjoy that meal together in a restaurant with candlelight or whatever it is at our favorite place, I knew that that person took the time out of their day to make that meal for me specifically because they knew I wouldn't be able to do it myself. And that is one, again, a silent piece of gratitude that someone with chronic pain may never express fully in the moment or in the month that they get the food. But I feel like just a healthy meal that's ready for them is such an amazing way to support that person in your life with chronic pain. Again, alongside cooking food is offering transportation. If that person doesn't really have the ability to drive because of their flare-up unpredictability, or their pain threshold is just crazy and their symptoms are, again, unpredictable, it can be unsafe to drive ourselves on top of the medical trauma that can come from after an appointment. So sometimes living with chronic pain, it can stir up a lot of stuff after a medical appointment of, wow, I just feel overwhelmed with all the information or the next steps I have to take, or I'm just like, whoa, like I can't take on this right now. And that is not a great headspace to drive, because obviously your attention is not fully on the road, your mind's going and racing. And so having that opportunity for somebody else to pick us up, drop us off is, again, that great way to support that person in your life before and after an appointment or wherever they need to go. Next thing I'll say is to create a supportive environment for that individual. You may notice that they may need mobility aids such as a cane or a wheelchair to get around some days. Again, pain thresholds may be different, so some days they may not need that cane or that wheelchair to get around, but installing handrails where they need them the most, or a bar in the bathroom to help them get up from the bathtub or the toilet, can be really meaningful, helpful ways to support that person in your life that has mobility concerns with their symptoms that come forward with chronic illnesses. Provide emotional support. Now, I want to be clear here. There is providing emotional support that is a safe and encouraging environment for both the individual that you love that has chronic illness and yourself. You want to make sure that you're protecting your own mental health and own mental well-being. And so sometimes, yes, living with chronic pain is exhausting and painful and scary, and it can have all these emotions. And as a supportive person alongside that journey, it can impact your mental health as well. And so what I will say with this providing emotional support area of support is a caveat, right? If you notice that things are getting too heavy or things are just not as, where they're supposed to be, I guess, mental health wise for that individual, I think suggesting connecting with their doctor or medical practitioner, and again, supporting them by going to that appointment if you're able and willing to do so. But also, suggesting a therapist or somebody else that is a professional to deal with mood swings, emotional changes, anxiety and depression that comes alongside chronic pain and chronic illness journeys is an amazing way to be supportive. And it can be kind of like, not hard love for the person, but it's like you really want to make sure that they get the best care in the right place at the right time in their chronic illness journey. And so sometimes you have to protect yourself as well. So what I will say with this, emotional support wise, if it's, at the beginning of their journey or they're just having a hard time, again, being that listening ear that's empathetic and understands what they're going through and doesn't pass judgment is great. But again, having that open, frank discussion with them around how you love them so much and that you would do anything for them, in the sense that they just need more professional support and advice around the mental health area. And someone living with chronic pain, I know how amazing it is to have that professional line of support to help you through a hard time. And for myself, I never want to weigh people down around me, but sometimes it happens, like mood swings happen and changes in your emotions happen, and especially with hormone fluctuations with certain chronic illnesses. So I realized that, yes, it's so important to have that external voice to help me alongside me. While I have my friends at my side, yes, but it's so important to have that professional line of support. So caveat with that supportive part, but if you can provide emotional support in a safe way for both you and that person that you love, then that's something that you can do to be supportive. Next thing is household chores, helping around with vacuuming, cleaning, making the beds. Again, these sound like things that you may not want to do in your day-to-day life, but they help so much with somebody living with chronic pain that can't do things in the day because their body just cannot allow them to do it. So that's another way to be supportive. If you're willing and able to do so, offering caregiving duties or responsibility support for young children in their lives that, for that person to live with chronic pain can be a way to support that person. I am a new mom, and sometimes chronic pain takes over, and I'm still trying to have a happy face and a positive attitude about things, but sometimes life just weighs you down and you just feel like you just don't have your own routine or your own rhythm and rhyme to things. And throw a newborn as well as a chronic illness in the mix that's oftentimes unpredictable can be very difficult at times. So, having that person in your life that helps support you. So I have my husband and his family and my family. So stepping in and supporting, responsibilities when a flare-up does come forward or when fatigue is just kicking in too much is a great way to feel supported as a chronic illness sufferer. Staying in touch, cards, voicemails, emails, letters, candy in the mail, anything that shows that you are thinking of them, that you care for them, means everything. Everything. I'm getting emotional. It may not seem like a lot, and it may not seem like a big chunk out of your day to write a quick note or to send a quick text or to just do a voice memo and send it off. It means so much to that person with chronic pain because, again, it is isolating, it is lonely, it is fearful living with your body that you can't control at times because it just does what it wants. It flares, it doesn't, it's tired, it's not. It's unpredictable, and that can be really scary. And so having someone stay in touch and check in on them and let us know that you care means so much. Encourage hobbies and interests. I love playing guitar and playing piano. I love drawing. I love doing all these different things, hiking when I'm able to, and my body's able to. Encouraging that person to find aspects of themselves that they love and see themselves before having that chronic pain kicking, if that makes sense, is a way that they can feel empowered, is a way that they can find themselves in a really crazy, tumultuous time. It's a way for them to feel rooted and grounded into something outside of their chronic pain. And it can be a great way to distract themselves. Being that supportive friend and that support network that says, hey, like before your symptoms kicked in, I knew that you loved swimming, or I know that you loved playing guitar. And I think you should get back to that if you can, because I know that you love it and it's a piece of you that I just don't want you to lose. That would be a great way to support that person. Finally, number 15, we've gotten to the end of the list here, is to join support groups. Encouraging that person in your life to join a support group, to join a network of people that experience similar pains and discomfort and have that disease and illness is the best way that you could probably support that person in your life. Because at the end of the day, there's only so much that an external person can do and understand what that person is going through. But if that person in your life that has endometriosis is connected to others that live with endometriosis, it is a way that they feel, again, less alone and less isolated, but they can share in their experiences of symptoms and pain management, and they get a deeper level of help and a deeper level of support that won't replace you and won't replace others in their lives that don't have the illness, but it's a way that they just feel connected to a larger network that can help their journey blossom. Once I found a group of people that had endo, I was like, you know what it is. I don't really need to explain it to you. And oh yeah, like that symptom is so hard, or like, how do you deal with that? And you just get more support from that network. So encouraging that person in your life to join a support group is a great way to provide that support on your end. So with that, this is a long video. I hope it has helped provide a little bit of insight on how you can support that person in your life that has chronic pain or chronic illness. And know, as somebody watching this that doesn't have a chronic illness, but you want to support somebody, again, I'm getting emotional for you, because you are so amazing and you are so wonderful. And the fact that you just want to support that person in your life that has chronic pain, even if you don't understand it fully, because it can get complicated, is a way that is just so, it's a way to show beauty in this life that is sometimes forgotten. Human connection is so important, and in any aspect of life, regardless of if you have an illness or not. But just you wanting to reach out and help means more than you probably will ever know. So with that, I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, from that person in your life that you're trying to help. So with that, I cannot wait to talk to you on the next one.